Good, happy Sunday morning, everyone. It's Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. And welcome to this Sunday edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. I'm Riley King. It's time to rise and shine. Get this Sunday off to a good start. Sit back, relax, grab a good cup of coffee, and enjoy this Sunday edition of the Morning Show with Riley King, where we have a little bit of everything for you in this program. So let's get started with your Sunday edition of the Morning Show with Riley King right now. I hope you all enjoy watching. First up, Giuliani raid, a very serious turn in this investigation, prosecutors say. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Running provides clarity. It's a sense of joy.
My family, they're one of the reasons I'm out running.
Running means being able to be free.
To help us understand some of the legal issues surrounding this investigation, we bring in Robert Mintz, a former federal prosecutor, now with the firm McCarter and English. Thanks for coming on, Robert.
Thanks for having me.
So besides what has been revealed since the raid, what do we not know about what federal prosecutors are looking into in connection with Giuliani at this point?
Well, there's really a lot that we don't know because, remember, this search warrant on its face does not give details of what prosecutors are looking at. It only shows that there is evidence of a crime that may be located at a particular location, in this case, Mr. Giuliani's home and his office, and it says specifically what criminal violations may be evidenced there. So in other words, it will show the criminal statute. In this case, likely a violation of the Foreign Agent Registration Act, which requires an individual who is working on behalf of a foreign government to register if they're going to lobby in the United States on behalf of that foreign entity.
Well, it's certainly unusual for the FBI to raid the home and office of a lawyer. I was actually having flashbacks of when this happened to Michael Cohen, former advisor and lawyer to the former President Trump. Why would prosecutors go this route? And does it give us any clues about the nature of the seriousness of the investigation? Because we saw how things turned out for Michael Cohen after a similar raid took place for him.
This is a very serious turn in this investigation because a search warrant in and of itself is the most aggressive, the most intrusive weapon that prosecutors have to go after evidence. And then to do it to an attorney is doubly problematic because of the attorney-client privilege issues that are involved in that. So it tells us that this is a serious investigation, that it's moving very quickly, and it also tells us that for whatever reason, prosecutors were concerned that if they did not go in there and seize this evidence physically themselves, that they were worried that somehow the evidence might not be there when they needed it.
Well, as you know, Giuliani is firing back, no surprise, claiming that the raid, which was approved by a federal judge, by the way, was illegal and unconstitutional. Do you agree?
Well, we don't really know, and frankly, neither does Mr. Giuliani, because in order to get that search warrant, an affidavit had to be presented to the federal judge, which laid out the probable cause that a crime was committed and that evidence of that crime was located at his house and his office. That's something that Mr. Giuliani has not seen, his lawyers haven't seen, and frankly, they will never see unless criminal charges are brought. And then at that time, that evidence is turned over to his lawyers, and they can move to suppress the evidence if they believe there was a violation. But we just can't tell at this point because we don't know the basis that federal prosecutors used in order to obtain that warrant.
All right, so as an attorney, I'm going to ask you this. Let's say you were representing Giuliani. As you know, he sat down for an interview on Fox News, no surprise, while he's under investigation. Do you think that was a good idea? Would you have supported him if he were your client?
Well, it's not unusual in these times, as you know, for individuals to try to play out their case in the court of public opinion as opposed to waiting until they get their day in court. But generally, it's not a great idea because everything that's said during that interview can ultimately be used against him in some later prosecution. So you can be sure the prosecutors were listening very carefully to what he said and are going to try to trip him up somewhere down the road if they have evidence that contradicts what he said during the interview.
Well, he's always been needless to say, Giuliani has always been an interesting one to watch, listen to, and see what happens. Robert Mintz, I know you'll be watching as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dr. Ashish discussed India's COVID crisis, new travel restrictions. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
I'm joined now by Dr. Ashish Jha, Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health. Thanks so much for being here, Doctor.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, we have seen the images of India's health system at the breaking point. We've seen them every day, and the U.S. and other countries are now sending in aid and supplies. So what do you think are the most important things India needs at this moment to actually attempt to get this outbreak under control?
Yeah, India has two sets of problems at once. One is that the infection numbers are out of control, and they need public health measures like mask wearing, testing, vaccinations to get under control. And then the second is they have a lot of people who've already been infected, who are very, very sick, who need hospital beds, oxygen, medicines. So we really need to attack this on both sides of this, both on taking care of sick people and preventing future infections.
Let's talk about AstraZeneca for a minute. The White House is saying about 10 million doses of that vaccine could be released soon once the FDA signs off. And then another 50 million doses will be produced in the coming months, apparently, and that will be shared globally. So should India get the majority of those doses now, do you think? Or should other countries that are struggling be included?
Yeah, so I think the bottom line is it should be really driven by need. And given that the need in India is the biggest, it probably should get the lion's share. But there are indeed absolutely other countries that are also struggling that probably need it as well. But given India's sort of size, its population, and just the number of people infected, I do think it makes sense to send a majority of those doses to India.
We also, Doctor, reported earlier on that new travel restriction on flights from India to the U.S. How concerned should we be about this outbreak spreading beyond India's borders?
Yeah, what we have seen throughout this whole pandemic is when you see the rise of new variants, and there are some new variants coming out of India, they never stay in the country where they originated. They become global very quickly. So I think those travel restrictions make sense. They will slow it down, but they will not stop those variants from showing up here in the United States. In fact, we already have a couple of cases of that. So this is one of the many reasons we've got to help bring this pandemic under control elsewhere, because when those outbreaks happen, the variants from those places end up in our country as well.
Right. And I mean, in India right now, the new cases and deaths, I mean, it's just been astronomical. But you said it's likely to get worse than what we are actually reporting. So can you explain why you feel that way? And do you actually think it could get worse in India before it can get better?
Yeah, I do, and I'm worried. And I obviously hope I'm wrong, right? Because we don't want it to get worse. But infection numbers have been of over 350,000. I think we're going to start seeing numbers in the 400,000s, and if things don't get under control quickly, into the 500,000s every day. The deaths of 4,000 deaths are clearly a massive underreporting. They're not counting most of the deaths. So things are pretty bad and really need to be turned around very, very quickly.
Well, I know you and I, all of us, are glad that the U.S. is helping to support India right now. Meanwhile, back here at home, we're able to do that because we have good news, and that is that cases have been dropping in recent days. We now have more than 100 million American adults who have been fully vaccinated. So what do you think with regard to all of us here at home? Are we turning a corner in regard to controlling the virus here in the United States?
Absolutely. We are turning the corner. I think this is the good news. Infection numbers are down. I expect those numbers to continue to go down. I expect infection numbers to plummet actually in the next month. All of this, of course, contingent on people continue to get vaccinated. If people stop getting vaccinated, then we put all of this at risk. But assuming the vaccination numbers continue, I think one should be very optimistic about a very, very good summer.
All right, you have us all smiling now. And yes, keep getting vaccinated. Thank you so much, Dr. Jha. Appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. Very important. Keep getting vaccinated. What are the threats to U.S. if COVID continues to rage in other parts of the globe? Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Aficionado. I'm a fashionista.
Sneakerhead. Metalhead.
Dr. Paul Offit, a vaccine expert at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and a member of the FDA's advisory panel. Dr. Offit, good morning to you. It's good to have you on a Saturday. First, I want to go back and ask you about the deadly surge in India right now. The U.S. is sending aid, vaccines, adding travel restrictions. Is that enough? But also help us understand the threat here at home if the virus continues to rage out of control on the other side of the world.
Well, I think when this virus rages out of control, the big concern is that you're going to start to create more and more variants, especially variants that would be immune to or resistant to immunity caused by natural infection or resistant to immunity caused by vaccination. That's the worry. I mean, we're not going to really slow the spread of this virus by restricting travel from India, but what we could do is decrease the possibility that a variant of concern would come into this country. So I think the Biden administration made the right decision.
I do want to turn to the vaccines now. Pfizer, as we mentioned in that report, is asking to expand emergency use authorization for its vaccine to include 12 to 15-year-olds. We're told the decision could come any day now. Are you confident that younger teens should be getting this vaccine now?
Yes. First of all, the study that was done by Pfizer involved about 2,200 people. 1,100 of these 12 to 15-year-olds got vaccinated. 1,100 didn't get vaccinated. There were 18 cases of disease, all in the placebo group. It was well tolerated and induced an excellent immune response. I mean, more than 3 million children have been infected with this virus in this country. About 200 have died. There's another disease called multi-system inflammatory disease in children that we certainly see in our hospital that may well cause longer-term effects. So certainly children will benefit from this vaccine. Yes.
That inflammatory disease, a lot of people have been concerned about that as well. I do want to turn, though, to New York City and other cities across the country have been talking about plans to fully reopen, some by July. But we've also seen states like Mississippi already dropping most restrictions, mask mandates starting to go away in some places. Are we ready for that?
Here's what worries me. This is essentially a winter virus. And if you look at what happened when the virus first came in last year in March and started killing people in the United States, it dramatically increased. 1,000 deaths a day, 2,000 deaths a day, 2,500 deaths a day. Then, as we approached April and May, the number of cases and deaths decreased to generally fewer than 1,000 deaths a day, even though the population was fully susceptible and even though there was no vaccine. Then we hit November and it took off again. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 deaths a day because this is a winter virus. We need to get to 80% population immunity before next winter hits. That means we need at least 100 million more people to be vaccinated before next winter hits, because if we don't do that, then I think there may be a surge next winter. And I do worry that you're starting to see a drop-off in vaccinations. And as the summer goes on, people are going to get more and more complacent because this is at its heart still a winter virus. And people are going to think, great, it's over, I don't need a vaccine. But we need to get to 80% population immunity, by as we approach fall, because if not, I think we're going to be in trouble next winter.
It really is a delicate balancing act at this time. We mentioned earlier that you're on that FDA advisory panel. AstraZeneca says that they're taking longer than expected in submitting their vaccine for emergency use authorization. There have been a few delays with this vaccine here in the U.S. and a pause in Europe due to those rare blood clots like we saw with J&J. Do you see any red flags or concerns that Americans should consider whether this vaccine comes online here in the U.S.?
Well, again, so I really can't comment on the AstraZeneca vaccine until we look at all the data. Certainly, it's true that both the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccine, which are basically made in the same way, which is a so-called replication-defective adenovirus, have this very, very rare problem of blood clotting. But again, still, if you take a theoretical million people, for example, with the J&J vaccine who would have a severe blood clot, it would be about 1 per million. Whereas if you take a theoretical million people who are infected with COVID, 5,000 will die and many will be left with permanent harm. So these vaccines, still, the benefits outweigh their risks, but there are small risks.
And quickly, you think it will be authorized, AstraZeneca, here in the U.S.?
Don't know.
Don't know. We'll have to stand by and wait for that. All right, Dr. Offit, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we're going to switch gears now. And let's go into weather. And here is a look at the weather across the United States for all of you for this Sunday. In Boston, 76 degrees. New York City, 81 degrees. Washington, D.C., 85 degrees. In Atlanta, 83 degrees. Jacksonville, Florida, 84 degrees. Tampa Bay, Florida, 91 degrees. And Miami, Florida, 87 degrees. Dallas, 83 degrees. In Phoenix, 92 degrees. Los Angeles, 72 degrees. Las Vegas, 89 degrees. And San Francisco, 65 degrees. That is a look at the weather across the United States for all of you for this Sunday. Happy Sunday, everyone. Beautiful day. And we are going to switch gears now. And we are going to talk about delicious brunch dishes all in one pan. Who loves brunch? I love brunch. Let's take a look at those delicious brunch dishes right now.
At Capella University, we know the world is pretty smart.
Wicked smart.
So we made FlexPath smart enough that you can finish the
We're back with my favorite part of the morning, our one-pan game plan, and we've got your brunch menu all set right here. 2 delectable dishes, both with easy cleanup. Genevieve Coe, she's the senior editor at New York Times Cooking and joins us from the Institute of Culinary Education. Genevieve, good morning to you. It's always great to have you, especially on a Saturday. So you're going to show us how to make crispy oven bacon and eggs and also whipped cream scones this morning. Why do you love pairing these 2 dishes?
I always love to serve something sweet and salty at brunch, but I don't like to have to stand at the stove the whole time. And this way, you actually can bake your sweet thing first, then get your bacon and eggs in the oven, and everything is ready all at the same time. And if you're not into scones, at NYT Cooking, we have so many other recipes for muffins, other breakfast pastries, coffee cakes, whatever you want. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is throw everything in the oven, and then I'll be ready to eat, and you can just hang out.
Love it. So first up, we're starting with the classic here for breakfast. Perfect for a Saturday morning.
Yes.
Crispy oven bacon and eggs. How do you make this whole meal in just one pan?
The amazing thing about sheet pans is that you can fit so many slices of bacon, and they can all lie flat so they get really crispy and they don't get all tangled up the way they might in a skillet. And you don't have to stand there flipping them to make sure they get crispy. They just sit here, fry in the oven, and while they're getting crispy in the oven, you'd let your eggs sit out at room temperature. And once the bacon cooks and it shrinks down, you have enough room on the pan to just crack the eggs right into the pan. And they fry in the oven, and develop this delicious custardy, silky texture. And if you're worried about cracking the eggs right into the pan, you can actually break them into a bowl first and then just pour them all out onto the pan.
Wow, I love that idea. Okay, you've also got a treat for everyone with a sweet tooth, whipped cream scones.
Absolutely.
Tell us how we get this started with one pan.
Sure, so it's one pan to bake them, but I have to confess, it's 2 bowls to make the scones. So in one bowl, you have all your dry ingredients.
We'll let you get away with one.
I know, but it's only 2 bowls. One of them is for your dry ingredients, and here we smushed in cold pieces of butter, and that's going to make your scones nice and flaky. And in this bowl, I just whipped cream lightly to get to this point. And what I want to do is add my favorite scone ingredients, which are dried cranberries and chopped up chocolate. But you know what? If you don't like those, you can switch in dried cranberries, raisins, and if you don't feel like chopping chocolate, you can absolutely throw in chocolate chips. The great thing here is that you don't even need another tool. You just use your hands. So you are going to dump in the whipped cream, and whipping cream first is going to add these little air bubbles to the cream, and that is going to keep your scones so tender. It's amazing. I actually love to just make the scones by hand, because what you do is you just mix it all up in here, and it keeps the scones really tender and light. You just want to handle the dough so gently so that they don't end up tough. And once you have your dough come together, you can just form it into these great little balls and dump them right onto the pan, so you don't even have to actually roll out the dough, use a rolling pin, use cookie cutters or anything. And if you're not a morning person, one of my favorite things about this scone recipe, and actually most scone recipes, is that you can just go ahead and put this dough in the freezer the night before, and then just bake it straight from the freezer in the morning.
Fantastic. Quick check with the taste testers. All good over there?
Good.
Looking good?
Really good. Janae told me about something called a bacon wrap scone.
Yeah. That's another segment.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely do
Genevieve.
that, too.
You can check out her book, Better Baking, for more great recipes.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking.
Okay, and there you go on that video of those delicious brunch dishes. Let's go have brunch, everyone. I love brunch. What about all of you? Let us know. And switching gears now, let's go into entertainment news. In entertainment news, Donnie Wahlberg gets emotional remembering his late mother. Exclusive. Let's take a listen to that video from Entertainment Tonight.
I'd protect you from the sadness in your eyes.
That's Donnie Wahlberg's touching tribute to mom, Alma. Just 12 days ago, he announced she passed away at 78 after a long battle with dementia. Donnie and I spoke this morning.
You know, I've been kind of laying low a little bit the last couple of weeks because I've been going from work to, her bedside and stuff. I got in and Jenny said, I think you should watch the E.T. tribute.
You did good, Alma. Rest in peace.
That's what I said to her. That was the last thing I said to her. She did good. She loved your show. And when you said those words, it just, I lost it. I'm losing it a little bit now. Because that's it. That's all she wanted to know that she didn't like, was that she raised good kids and that she did a good job as a mom. When you said those words, it just, Jenny and I just literally cried for a half an hour. That's my mom. That's who she really was.
Can I play something for you? I want to show you something.
Of course.
She said, Ma, the first thing I'm going to do is buy you a house when I get rich. And I said, okay, darling. And he did. It was still probably the biggest thrill I ever had.
I really believe that my success was the universe and God's way of paying her back. I was just a vessel to reward her for all the good that she brought into this world. And I think you showing me that piece just reminded me of that.
Donnie is also grateful for the support of his Blue Bloods TV family, including Tom Selleck.
I call him Dad now. He calls me son. That's how we talk to each other off camera. Oh, yeah. First, he used to kind of rumble at me like, what's this music guy is kind of weird. And then now he calls me son, and he'll come in and give me a big hug. And, you get a hug out of Tom Selleck. That's a big deal.
Of course, the Wahlbergs are known for their drive and commitment to hard work. Donnie's also proud of his other show. He hosts HLN's serial killer series, Very Scary People. Season 3 premieres Sunday.
He said, if these plates fall, I will hear it, and I will kill you.
What is it about Very Scary People that people love so much?
I think it's our inability to comprehend what they could possibly be thinking. We want to somehow gain some knowledge and understanding into what makes them tick, so we could be probably less scared Is Jenny a true crime fan? Does she watch? It's funny because I love Masked Singer, and she loves very scary people.
Okay, and there you go on that video in that report. And thank you for joining us for this Sunday edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everyone. See you back here tomorrow for another edition of The Morning Show with Riley King. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your Sunday.